Roll call. Board Chair Russell. Board Member Taylor.
Here.
Board Member V. Williams.
Here.
Board Member Bass.
Here.
Board Member N. Williams.
Here.
Board Member Irving.
Here.
All right.
Thank you. We're going to stand for a moment of prayer, and then we'll have to say Dr. Bass to do the other to do the rest of the service. Father, we thank you for being able to serve our community. Father, we ask you, God, that you would continue to be with us, that you would guide us, Father God, that you would lead us, oh God, that you would help us, oh God, to be the government that you have called to be, or you have ordained us to be. In Jesus' name, amen. On the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Valentine's Day to everybody, and thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any add-on items?
No, ma'am.
I don't have a gavel, but I'm gonna open up for public comments. I don't see anyone out in the audience. So I'll just hit one. It goes. I'm gonna get this, yeah. So we're going to. Before y'all delay, we won't move it to resolution. You wanna wait until we move it to resolution before we have comments from our guests online?
Madam Chair, we should go ahead and move into the motion. That way we can allow for the candidate to speak to the board and be open and available for questions.
Okay, all right, Madam Attorney.
A resolution of the Opa-locka, Florida Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, approving a professional services contract with Weisserode, Hoffman, Cole and Bierman, PL, setting forth the terms and conditions of payment, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Move it.
Second for discussion.
Moved by Board Member V. Williams, second by Board Member Taylor. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I was looking at the contract and I see that we scratched out the 2,500 at the rate of work exceeding blank hours. And we're replacing that with what?
Madam Chair.
Oh.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I was heard. I can't, my video is disabled, so I can't come on the video. But Mr. Mayor, or I guess for purposes of today, Board Member Taylor, the reason why that looks like that is because I wanted to let you know what the applicant was requesting, which was $2,500 and a rate after I believe it was 8 hours of a certain hourly rate after 8 hours, but he can better explain that. So what I was doing was just putting a placeholder, really. What you have paid in the past with myself and then the prior CRA attorney, it was $2,000 a month, and that was a flat rate. This is, just $500 more. But the issue that you all should pay attention to is what will trigger, what the rate will be after, so many hours that you agree upon, if that's what you agree to. and then how, how many hours of that, I guess, really you want to go up to, because this can be kind of expensive. $250 is sort of a hourly, governmental rate that is recognized. And so you just I just throw that out there because the CRA just historically hasn't really done a whole lot, and there's not a lot of legal work because there's not a lot of stuff to review. So you may want to increase the rate or the amount of hours based on the type of work that comes before you, or look at what you're doing for a certain period of time and then revisit it. But I just want to kind of throw these things out there so that you all know that the rate can quickly, the cost can quickly balloon if you're not doing a flat rate.
Okay, so now what you're doing currently is $2,000 for 8 hours, and then $250.
No, we do a $2,000 flat rate. Whether we do a lot of work or a little bit of work, it's just $2,000. So I know you guys are looking, to secure someone. They're looking for $2,500 flat rate for a certain number of hours, and then they're looking for a something that would be above a kind of a standard governmental rate for this type of work, which I think is $350. I'm not looking at the letter that was sent right now, but Mr. Hill, I understand, is on, or somebody from I did see David Tulsis, I think somebody from his firm is on, and they can tell you what they're looking for. But but just pay attention to, you don't want that to balloon. You want to make the whatever legal stuff is being done commiserate with what actual work is being done by the CRA, and you don't want your lawyer fees getting ahead of your not trying to stop lawyers from making money, but you don't want to get your lawyer fees ahead of the work that's actually being generated, because lawyers are not we can get contracts in place, and we can do other things like that. But in terms of your programs and what those programs look like, and what kind of ideas you have that are implemented, that's the real, meat and potatoes. It's not so much the legal work. So you don't want your legal work to exceed what's happening with the work within the CRA.
Okay, so to Mr. Delane, the 2,500, if you divide that by 250, which is what the current attorney say, is 10 hours. That would be 10 hours. So where did we get the 8 from? Is that what you all discussed with the applicant, or who came up with that? Who came up with that?
Through the chair. Oh, would you like to speak, Madam Chair?
I think it behooves us to let the attorney speak, and he probably can answer your question.
Okay,
And I think the answer coming from the attorney would outweigh, or you'll get it directly from the attorney and not from staff or from anyone. So if you want
yes,
to
ma'am.
address your question to the attorney, and they're on. So Mr. Hill. And thank you, Madam Attorney, for that information. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is David Tulsis. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yep. Mr. Hill is out of town right now traveling, but I know he is logged in. He's trying to speak and find a quiet place where he might be able to talk. But my name's David Tulsis. I'm a partner at Weiss Sirota, Helfman, Cole & Bierman, and we're honored and privileged with the opportunity to present our proposal to the Opa-locka CRA for legal services. As you have before you is our proposed agreement, which, provides for, based upon our discussions with your executive director and the chair, the rate of $2,500 for us to perform, 8 hours of basic legal services. As Ms. Norris Week said, you haven't been doing a lot of work. So, that 8 hours could cover a lot of territory. But, what you're preparing for are some bigger projects that are going to take some additional work, some additional expertise. And, if it comes to that point where we're going to spend more than 8 hours in a month, then we would certainly come back to the executive director and speak to him and negotiate the work and get an understanding as far as the maximum, let's say, amount of costs that you'd incur. We do a lot of work for local government, so we're very cognizant of costs and expenses, and we're certainly not just going to take the ball and run with it without speaking to your executive director first. And just by way of background, I'm board certified in city, county, local government. I've been a member of the Florida Bar for 33 years. I have worked for community redevelopment agencies as an attorney and general counsel for a good part of my legal career, currently representing the Lake Worth Beach CRA, the Omni CRA in the city of Miami, the Margate CRA in Broward County, and have done work for the Delray Beach CRA, as well as the Dania Beach CRA. So, speaking for myself and Mr. Hill, we're prepared to assist you with your various projects, whether that's facade easements, whether it's rental assistance, whether it's assisting with development, using your NSP grant funds, whatever it might be, we're prepared to assist you with that, and I'm available to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board Member Taylor, you want to ask him a specific question? Or did he answer? He answered it. That was one of my concerns as well, is that the 8 hours seemed like it wasn't a lot of hours. And I expressed that I thought, because we've had our attorney that, we kind of call that Will, and she's been available, and we appreciate that. So I didn't want us to get into a contract now where, we have 3 major projects that are on to roll out, that was supposed to be rolled out February the 1st. Today is the 15th, and we still have not been able to do that. So we want to make sure that we're comfortable with the price, and that we're not exceeding that. And if we do come to a point where we have to exceed that, it's going to be well worth something for us to move forward on. So, Mr. Delane. Yes, before Mr. Delane, Board Member N. Williams. Oh, I'm sorry, that's okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question for the city attorney. I'd be curious to know how many hours she has traditionally spent on CRA work, just to help give us a baseline.
Sure, we've spent probably on average, you haven't met every month, but months that you meet, well, let me back up. The most time I've spent, and I guess the only month that really would have exceeded 8 hours was when you had a contract agreement that you had with a contractor that you were putting together. And in addition to that, I also tried to help create a program for that. Now, I'll tell you, I don't know where that stuff is, but I did, spend quite a lot of work on that. But other than that, I think probably every month would have been less than 8 hours.
Thank you.
And if I could speak, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, and if there's a project that you're going to be working on, it would be our intent to sit down with your executive director, map out that project, map out what's expected of us, the legal work, and the expected hours, so that we don't start anything or do anything without everybody being on the same page. So that is our intent, and that is what we will do if you retain us.
And I also want to add that this is a firm that, they do a lot of local government work. And they are, familiar with these type of issues. I feel confident that they'll be able to do the work that is required of you, of the CRA, and I feel very confident that you'll be satisfied with their work product. The only issue that I just sort of circle you back on is maybe you want to do some additional if you're there has been an issue, a planning issue with the CRA. So if you know that there is work coming up, and if you were able to get a map of 6 months out of the kind of work things that you were going to try to implement, perhaps the legal issues will be a lot easier, and those issues could even come to you in advance. This month that maybe you have a cap, we can create a contract. This is just something very, very basic that was done, but we can create a contract that pretty much allows for almost any scenario. Once it hits 8 hours, that it has to. If you're going to be doing a lot of work, I'm assuming that also means you'll be meeting monthly. So if maybe that can go on the next agenda, and for them to do whatever work it is, and you all to understand it. I don't really know, but I will tell you that we can create pretty much anything contractually that you all think would be sufficient. I just don't want you spending a whole lot of money, and then you look up and there's a whole lot of legal fees that have been accumulated, and not a lot of stuff done. So legal fees can add up very quickly. I can tell you all that, as you all know. So I'm not, again, trying to stop you, David, from making money. I respect your firm. I just am sort of cognizant that the CRA is just starting to get some money in its coffers, and starting to hopefully be able to do some projects and things that are meaningful. And it really should, sort of go to real program, hopefully. That's all.
Right. And we understand that, and we'll work with the executive director and you and the board to make sure that the money's going where it needs to go.
We have another question from board member Nikki Williams, and then we're gonna go down to board member Veronica.
So, Madam Chair, given that this price is a little bit higher than what we had when we did our budget, I'd be curious to know, one, if we have the money in our line item for this, or would it require a budget amendment? And maybe that's a question for staff.
So for the amount, we do currently have it within our budget. However, for anything exceeding the rate that the potential attorney is requesting, that's something that they would have to bring to the board. Staff would have to prepare for the board to review prior to any expenditures being spent from the CRA.
So follow up, I just want to add, because this total number is going to be different, I imagine, than what was budgeted for. So will we need to do a budget? Will we need to do a budget amendment? Because I imagine that we would need to move money from other line items to then cover this.
At current, we're looking at a month-to-month basis, as this is an interim position. So if, potentially they are full-term, that's a discussion that we would have to have with the board to make them full-term, and that would incur a budget amendment. So this is a month-to-month interim basis that we're looking at, and that is covered under our CRA budget. And as I mentioned, if it is to progress beyond that, that's another conversation to have, and a budget amendment would follow soon after.
I would just implore us as a board, if by chance they are on for 5 and 6 and 7 months, that we probably need to take another look at the budget.
Correct. Thank you.
Board member Williams.
Yes, thank you. I know it's been a long day, so maybe I didn't hear. the part that Board Member Taylor read on your contract, was it said what replaces that particular, it did? So I'm sorry, did I miss it? Because I don't recall hearing. I never heard what the new attorney said would be, because we're saying it's going to be higher, but I don't like how much higher? Is it $500 more higher? $1,000? Like, I don't know.
It's-
I'm just confused right now.
If I might,
Or is it is it what it is? And then potentially after 8 hours, we could bill for after the 8. Is that what it is?
That's my understanding, but David, I think you wanted to answer.
yeah, the intent of our proposal was to provide up to 8 hours of service for agenda preparation, for reviewing resolutions, and other similar tasks, and that would be at 2,500. If we're asked to do any other work or work on any projects, then we'll sit down and negotiate some time that we expect, but that would be billed at the rate of $350 an hour. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so can you just restate, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, or?
Okay, so in that area, it's gonna be $2,500, a base monthly rate.
Okay,
If it goes over the 8 hours before that happens, because we have to give them a outline of what we're gonna be doing, and if they think that it's gonna go over that amount, then they will give us a number as to what it would cost. That would have to come before the board for approval before that work is done. So that means that staff has to be on top of their projects to know exactly where they are, and they have to have a timeline to know exactly where they are, how much time it's gonna take, and if they're gonna need the services of the attorney.
okay. Madam Chair, if you don't, I have one more.
Sure, go ahead.
Comment, not question. I would hope that if we can kind of foresee the future in terms of the board and staff, so that upfront, if you know that a particular project is going to go over 8 hours, that is something that you can already, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so you can already kind of have in motion a plan of action. And then also on the other end, if the new attorney would also let us know this particular project ahead of time could potentially go over, 30, 40, 50 hours, let us know as a board before we begin that project, so that we then can make some type of provisions in our own budget, so that we're prepared for that overage. And so that's pretty much on both ends is my recommendation.
Well, what my discussion with staff have been right along those lines, because in moving the projects forward that we have to have a timeline. There's no way that we can work efficient without having a timeline. And I have expressed that to Mr. Delane, that it's essential that we have a timeline, and what that timeline includes, and deliverables that you have to meet deadlines, so that we don't get ourselves in a place where we have to call on the attorney and it goes over 8 hours. We should know that well aware, well before time. So that conversation have been had with staff as well as with the attorney.
Madam Chair, and I agree with you, but I also think that some projects, and I am hopeful, and I know that we're going to move the CRA. I know it was mentioned, some stagnation, but I believe, and like I say, I'm hopeful, and I know that moving forward, that was not going to be the case, and that we're going to eliminate whatever was said about us. However, I just want to make sure that because I know projects could, and it doesn't matter timelines, and it's just it depends on the project. Some projects are will heavily need legal sufficiency. So I just, and it's okay. That would be okay. As long as it's a project that we all believe in and we're okay with. I would like, however, as a board, again, I know you said, Mr. Delane, this is just interim, but at least we have a cutoff for hours or overage, at least right now, at, 10 hours, 15, 20, there's no billing because it's an interim process. We don't want to get hit with a 100-hour overage and we don't know. So I believe that should be something that's on contractual.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Board Member Williams. Well taken, and I know staff is there. And David, you wanted to respond as well?
yeah, I'll just repeat again, we're very cognizant of the time and the cost involved. So we're going to work very closely with your executive director and with you as your board to make sure that whatever work we're doing is meaningful, is not over what you need, and is within budget. I do have to say, I have a city commission meeting that I'm scheduled to attend at 7 o'clock. So, I don't want to, stop your discussion, but I know you had this special meeting called today. And so I just beg your indulgence if I have to sign off in about 5 minutes.
Okay, we have another question. Thank you, David, very much. And tell Marlon as well, Mr. Hill, that we appreciate him trying to get on. We know when you're far away.
I will. Thank you. But I'll be on for about 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I would like to reiterate what Board Member Williams said, and I do believe that we should edit the contract so that there's some contractual language that says after a certain amount of hours, they must contact us for approval before they go over. I know that we are all agreeing that that is what's going to happen, but I would really implore us to make sure that that is contractually bound. I also have a couple of other recommendations in terms of the agreement. I've shared this, albeit like an hour before our board meeting, with both the city attorney and our assistant city attorney over here. I'm happy to kind of go through my list. I've just got 6 points, and would love to get some feedback. I'm going to add the caveat that I am not a lawyer. I have simply gone through some other contracts that I have seen in the past and wanted to raise a couple of points. So one, should we include an indemnification clause? I assume that this is assumed because of the legal nature of the agreement, but should we include a non-disclosure agreement or confidentiality agreement? This might not be necessary since we're both located in Florida, but should we include a contract governed by law clause? Do we need a data protection clause? And that just depends on what the city's data protection policies might be. Do we need a waiver or modification clause? And I would ask that maybe we consider a stronger scope of work. Right now, there's some very vague language. And so maybe there is a place where we strengthen that language a bit.
Okay. Can I respond
Yes.
quickly? Okay, so with respect to the indemnification clause, in my opinion, we don't need one. We've got professional liability insurance that could potentially cover, if we did any kind of malpractice. Non-disclosure, we're in Florida, public record, sunshine law. So we're not, we may have, if there's litigation, potentially attorney-client confidentiality, but as far as non-disclosure, we're all in the sunshine. We're doing everything in the public, so you typically wouldn't have a non-disclosure agreement in the contract. Same thing with the data. We're only going to email, information back and forth. It's not, we're not getting any, HIPAA information or anything like that you might have with the typical city matter. As far as governing law, the Opa-locka CRA can only be sued in Miami-Dade County. So, we're not going to drag you up to New York or anything like that to file any suit, and there's not going to be any lawsuit. And then the scope of work, if you want to clarify that, that's fine. We can work with Mr. Delane to do that. Once again, I apologize. I need to jump off, but I just wanted to respond to those questions quickly. And, Madam Chair, Mr. Delane, rest of the board, I welcome the opportunity as well as Mr. Hill and our firm to assist you with your legal services.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We look
Good night.
Good night. Good night. And we look forward to tightening up the agreement. Thank you, Board Member Williams, for bringing those questions. Mr. Delane,
Madam
What-
Chair,
before you respond, Attorney Norris, just for a second. Where's his actual agreement? He gave us an agreement.
yeah, he doesn't, his agreement is not the one we're using. It was just really a letter.
Okay.
It wasn't so much an agreement, but I wanted to just respond if I can.
Okay,
to
can you let Mr. Delane has the floor? Can you let him respond first and then I'll hear from you, please?
Oh, sure. I thought you were
right.
asking about the agreement. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I asked Mr. Delane, what happened to the agreement that they had sent over?
So what was forwarded to us was an engagement letter for us to review and provide to the board. And that's what was forwarded to the attorney to work with the potential attorney to draft up the agreement based off of those terms.
Okay, so that agreement is not a part of this agenda item.
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, go ahead, attorney.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Yes, I just wanted to comment on the insurance provision. We can certainly put something in here. You wouldn't have an indemnification provision in a contract like this, but and then again, he's correct with respect to, this is public records. Anything that you all do is in the sunshine, so you can't have any type of a confidentiality language in this type of document. And the rest of the comments certainly agree to, as we can only sue and be sued in Miami-Dade County. The scope of work, if you all have some ideas about what you would like to see, I can tell you historically what I've done. And I can add some of those things within the 8-hour type of work. I left it sort of general because it's a lot of it's really just reviewing what they've sent. I've gone beyond legal sufficiency stuff and trying to connect them with other CRAs and giving and doing little research and things like that, and which I'm sure the other firm will do as well. It's not a lot that's been going on, but I suspect that they will be working on land use matters. We can add some of those things in here, working if there's an overlay or, some other kind of something more than just the basic reviewing of resolutions and making corrections to them. I can add some things that I know, you can probably anticipate as opposed to things that may have been always done. So hopefully that answers your question. Candace is there, but I do have to jump off in about 2 minutes. So I will stay on as long as I can.
I would just add that I would value receiving a list from you in terms of the things that you've worked on in the past so that we can add that to the scope of work, or at least we consider it for the scope of work.
So we have the contract through the chair. We have the contract right now. So the contract, it's one that we sent over to you. So we do have it, and we're happy to add information within the contract that we have.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from board members? Okay, so where we're at now is that we are going to vote on the contract with the additions that.
Excuse me, just before you do that, I just want to make sure that the rate that they said is an agreeable rate. I had mentioned that 250 is sort of the governmental rate that their firm, my firm, a lot of firms that do this work is used to. So they're going $100 up in terms of what's normally seen as sort of a governmental rate for this type of work. You all can agree to that. That's up to you, but I just want to put it out there so that you're aware that's what you're doing. But But please put the rate in so that we'll know. That's why I left it blank because I wasn't sure what you wanted to do there.
Madam Chair,
Okay. Before, go ahead, Board Member Taylor.
I was gonna say, let's call the question as is, add the rate preferred, and then modify it with the modifications at a later date that Board Member Nikisha Williams brought up.
Okay, so what we have on the floor is to accept the contract, the resolution in the terms that it is now,
Mhm.
and to bring up the modification if needed of the 350 is what you're referring to.
And the scope of work.
Yes. If we, okay. All right,
Madam Chair.
so that's what we're gonna be voting on. Okay?
So-
Everyone is clear? Any other questions, comments?
I just want to make sure it's 350, that would be the rate, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, and for the modification, when you bring that back with the scope of work, which if we look at the contract that he had, that they sent to us, it has it in there. It's kind of vague, but it
Yeah,
has it.
it's not really anything in there, but what I was going to do was kind of make it consistent with what Board Member Williams said, with adding some of the things that I've done, and it will be even those things will be kind of general. It won't be anything that they'll disagree with.
Okay, let's move with the question. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Chair Russell,
Yes,
Wait, who put out the motion?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it was motion by Board Member Williams. It was second by Board Member Taylor. And we had discussion.
Madam Chair, before we call the vote, let
Yes,
me
sir.
make sure I'm clear on what we're putting out there. Can you please repeat one more time what we're putting a motion on the floor in regards to? And then I'll provide my comment.
$2,500
Mhm.
with the $350 over to also add in the scope of work.
Okay,
And well, that's it.
okay. No further comment.
I had called for the
We
question,
did
but
call the question.
I thought about it. Can I, just one quick question?
No, you better do it.
So it's interesting that this, oh, I'm sorry, I just jumped in.
You really did.
Go ahead, Cup. Go ahead.
Madam Attorney,
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that includes the up to 8 hours and then $350 when coming back the previous language that you all added before, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Got it. Thank
The
you.
motion was to reopen the discussion, so Board Member Williams can ask her question.
Okay,
That's the motion on the
Madam
floor.
Chair, you need to reopen.
So we're asking, that's the motion, to reopen discussion.
Reopen.
So motion
okay,
to reopen
go ahead.
discussion.
Reopen
And
the
you
discussion.
got my vote, yes.
Okay, everybody agrees,
Yes.
want to
We do.
reopen the discussion?
Thank you. So I'm trying to read through the city attorney's question, and I wonder if she is asking us that we have the ability to negotiate this 350 rate. And so I wonder if what we should be asking ourselves is, do we want to counter offer 250 and ask them to accept our rate? So for this board's consideration, I wonder if instead of just accepting their 350, if we counter offer and say, anything over the 8 hours, we are willing to pay 275 or 250. So I just want to throw that out for everyone's consideration before we just accept their number.
Well, I thought what we were going to do is that was going to be negotiable. Isn't that what we said? You didn't get
On
that
the
understanding?
modification.
You,
No.
I
for
just-
modification,
Modification.
We said for modification,
contract.
modification
Madam
means
Chair.
that it can be negotiated.
Madam Chair, let me clarify, just so we're all clear.
Go ahead. I mean, everybody just jumping right on in here. Come on.
So let's proceed with what's been proffered at the rate. This is only an interim basis. If we're looking to move forward with another legal counsel, we have within our wherewithal to do that on a month-to-month situation. What we're doing now is just so we can move forward on our projects. And what we can do during this term, and once we accept it, we accept with conditions that we ensure that the scope of work is up to the board standards and that we put a timeline in place so they do not exceed that 8 hours. And if they're even to come close to that, there's a contingency clause within that agreement to where once they reach that time period, we are notified and it has to come to the board prior to
That's what I thought.
moving forward. I just want to make sure we're all clear on that.
That's what I kind of thought, but in thinking in my mind now, help me, Madam Attorney. If we go now with the 350, is that negotiable or is that going to be in the contract?
It's what's going to be in the contract, but you're always able to reopen negotiations for the
Okay.
contract.
Okay, everybody's fine?
Can you call the question?
Okay, let's call the question.
Chair Russell,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Board Member V Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Bass, Board Member N Williams,
Yes.
and Board Member Irving.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. And I would like to say to Attorney, I always call her by her first name. It's not meant to be disrespectful, but Attorney Bernadette, for all of the work and the time that you have given to us. I've learned so much since I've been on this board from your direction and with legal counsel, and to the lady down there that's about to have this baby boy. Thank you so much for always being here and being helpful to us. And we know that we can call on you all if we ever need you. Thank you again, Attorney Bernadette.
She's
She
on.
signed up? Okay.
I'll let her know.
Okay. All right, where we?
Financial report.
This is emergency meeting. We don't have financial.
financial.
Oh,
reports
good.
tonight.
I was following your agenda.
It's the agenda. I didn't make that.
Now, board comments and.
So
We had
board
board, we
comments?
had board comments now. Any comments from the board?
No comment. I do have one comment. and
You can't
somewhere to
say
go.
no comment and then come back and say, I do have.
My comment is actually a nomination to make a motion to nominate N. Williams as the vice chair for the CRA.
I would like to second that.
That's my comment. That's my only comment.
That's a motion?
That's a motion in the comments section.
Okay. All right. Madam Attorney, we can take it from the floor?
I think we missed the motion down on this end.
Huh?
I got it.
The motion is to make, to nominate, yeah, Lakeisha Williams. What is it, that Williams? She said that Williams. As the vice chair of the CRA.
You can do that from the floor. I thought you weren't already the vice chair. Okay.
No,
That should,
that,
yeah, you
that
should be
position
able,
was
yeah.
vacant. So that's my motion and Bass seconded. So we asking to call for a vote. And then motion to adjourn right after that.
Okay, calling for a vote on nominating Mr. Corian Delane to Executive Director. of CRA. No, what, yeah, okay. Board Member Nikisha Williams as Vice Chair.
The motion is to appoint
Okay.
Board Member Nikisha Williams as Vice Chair.
Oh.
And Bass second the motion, so we're
Okay.
calling for the vote.
Okay, voting on nominating Board Member Nikisha Williams to Vice Chair. Board Member, Chair Russell,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Board Member Bass,
Yes.
Board Member V Williams,
Yes, of course.
and Board Member Irving.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passed.
I would like to make a motion.
For what?
No. So, everybody kept saying executive director, but we don't officially. So I would like to make a motion for interim executive director, Mr. Corian Delane. We don't have one.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Your motion is to make Corian Delane. I'll second the motion.
Interim.
Interim.
For, we're gonna have discussion?
Sure.
Okay. It's a motion on the floor to make Corian Delane, interim executive director, and it's been seconded by Board Member Taylor. Discussion?
Do you want to open it up, Madam Chair? You open it up for discussion?
Well, the reason why I was hesitant about doing that tonight is because I'm having a meeting with the manager, because Corian works part for the city and part for the CRA. And we need to see how we're going to carry out a separation agreement. And if the board wants to make interim, I think that before that's done, we need to have a plan of action. Because we know that in the past, we don't want to set Mr. Delane up for failure, and we don't want to be set up for failure. So I believe that if we don't put some type of contractual agreement in place, I don't think that's a good move to do that. So I would prefer to wait until we get those documents in place.
Can I counter that, Madam Chair? I said, can I? Sure. The floor. So, I hear you when you say that, say what you say, but, I'm just gonna counter a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, so the CRA has to move. We just, I mean, our own city attorney called it stagnant, like we have to move. And what's happening is we are constantly prolonging and waiting and prolonging for all the apples to line up. So I do believe that Mr. Delane and the manager will work that out. I do believe that as an interim, notice we said interim, we didn't say full, we didn't say we're giving an explosive type of contract. We're interim so that we can continue to push this work forward, but without filling these puzzle pieces that is taking forever to fill. And I'm glad we filled one tonight. We're not going to move. And we just keep waiting for something, the stars to line up. Our stars are lining up. We just got to move.
Okay, I hear you. Board Member Nikisha.
So Madam Chair, I would love to understand what is the difference between making him interim executive director and the director role that he currently holds? Does that mean he's getting more pay? Like, what is the differentiating factor between the two?
He's not the director.
Okay.
He's the CRA manager right now. And that he was given the title by the current previous executive director to step in that role as to be the manager. I still stand by what I said. I don't think that we should do it without having a document in place. I do not think we should do that. And Corian knows that I support him. I support him 100%. I think in working with him, he has been on point. But we as a city have moved without having proper documents in place. We have a meeting Tuesday. We have a board meeting on Tuesday. We need to have something in place and we could vote then to do it, but I don't think that we should do it without having something in place.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if we appoint him as the interim tonight, can you and you as the chair work with him to develop those documents by Tuesday and present them on Tuesday?
Sure.
The contracts and the separation agreement? Is that feasible?
If that's the will of the board and Mr. Delane, I'll work 100% to get it. But I want to have that document in place before we make that. And today is Wednesday. If we're gonna have a meeting, which we were gonna bring it, that was one of the items that we were gonna be bringing at Tuesday's regular meeting. We just wanted to get the attorney on board so that the attorney can go over the agreement and have everything in place when we come to Tuesday's meeting. That was a plan. So,
So, Madam Chair,
yes,
I just want to make sure that I'm 100% clear. By appointing Mr. Delane interim executive director, this would still have to come back to us for it to become permanent. Is that correct?
yes,
And we would put a date on it and say that he's interim executive director for, let's say, 6 months or a year, whatever that term is, and knowing that we would come back and decide the future of the role.
yes.
Okay.
It definitely has to come back before the board. So,
The motion is on the floor.
Second. The motion.
excuse me,
I was saying I would second her motion.
I think,
It was second already?
it was already, second.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
Taylor
but
did.
I understand what the chair is saying, so I agree, but I guess I don't see the harm in making him the interim tonight. With the understanding that on Tuesday, we're gonna be presented with a contract and like Vice Chair says, with the scope of work and expectations of our interim director.
Okay.
So if that's where I'm at. with it.
I'll go along. I'll go along. Is the Mr. Delane, is the manager gonna be out of town tomorrow and Friday, I think?
Mm, No,
Uh,
no,
I thought you all were going out.
next week.
Okay, all right, so I'll, as a matter of fact, I'll get the information that I need tonight. And I'll get with the manager and I'll see to it that we bring something back, and I'll get with Mr. Delane and see to it that we bring something back on Tuesday's meeting.
Okay,
So I'll go along. As long as we know we're gonna have something in place to go along, because another thing that I want to bring up is that when we put people in position and we don't have anything in place, you really don't have anything to hold them to. So if you don't have anything to hold them to, we're gonna be in right back at the same place when people don't agree and things go south, and then you have chaotic. But I'll agree, because I don't disagree that Mr. Delane shouldn't be interim, but I just wanted to have a document in place to say that this is what we're being held to.
well, he'll be documentless until Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, documents.
He's gonna be, so the
Yeah, you
motion
will
is for
be
him to be
being
active
interim,
interim documentless.
interim. Exactly.
Acting interim.
Okay, call for the question.
Okay, Madam Chair,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes,
Board Member V Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Bass.
Yes.
Board Member N Williams,
Yes.
and Board Member Irving.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed.
I got another motion to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night.
Meeting adjourned.